The next day, Nneka and her group gathered in her small hut. They knew they had to act fast before the king find out about them. The mirror was the key to stopping the wicked king, but they needed a plan to get it without being caught or seen. "We need a distraction," Nneka said, her eyes sharp with focus. "Something big enough to pull all the guards out from the palace." One of the hunters, a tall man named Chidi, stepped forward. "I know what we can do," he said. "We can set a fire near the edge of the village. The girls will rush to put it out, thinking it can be an attack that will give us the time to sneak into the palace and take the mirror." Nneka thought for a moment and then nodded. "It is dangerous, but it might work. We have to make sure no one gets hurt." Another villager, a young woman named Amaka, spoke up. "What if we dress like the palace servants?" suggested. "The king never pays attention to them. We can move through the palace without being noticed." "That is a good idea," Nneka agreed. "We will split into two groups. One group will start the fire and the other will enter the palace dressed as servants. We will meet at the secret tunnel and go to the king's room together." The plans was set. Everyone felt nervous, but they knew they had no choice. If they didn't act soon, the king's wickedness would destroy the village forever. That night, when the moon was hidden behind dark clouds, the villagers made their moves. Chidi and a few hunters sneaked to the edge of the village and set a small flame. As soon as the flame rose, the guards noticed and shouted in alarm, "Fire, fire, we must put it out." The guards grabbed buckets of water and rushed towards the fire, leaving the palace almost empty. Meanwhile, Nneka, Amaka and the others, dressed in a simple clothes like the palace servants and slippers inside, their hearts pounding as they walked through the halls, trying to stay calm. And every time the guards walked by, they bowed their heads and pretending to be busy with chores. Luckily, no one stopped them. Others followed the secret tunnel entrance. Nneka led them inside. They crawled through the narrow passage, just as they had done before. This time, though, their goal was much closer. As they reached and joined those at the palace hall, they all gathered at the front of the king's chamber. They heard the king talking again. This time, he sounded angry. "Why are my guards so slow?" he murmured. "I must check on my mirror." Nneka freezed. If the king checked the mirror, now they would be caught. She quickly whispered to the others, "We have to hurry. Amaka, you have to distract him. The rest of us will grab the mirror." Amaka nodded bravely, walked straight to the king's door, knocked on the king's door. "Your Majesty," she called, trying to keep her voice steady. "The servant needed your help outside. There is an emergency." The king frowned suspiciously, but he stood up and followed Amaka out of the room. As soon as they were gone, Nneka and the others rushed inside the room, and the room was dimly lit by a single candle. In the center of the table was the mirror, shining with strange lights glowing. "This is it," Amaka whispered. "Quickly, let's take it and go." But just as she reached for the mirror, something strange happened. The mirror began to hum and the lights in the room went off. A cold wind swept through the chambers and Amaka felt a shiver run down her spine. "What is happening?" one of the villagers asked, his voice shaking. Before Amaka could answer, they heard the footsteps of the king outside coming back to the chamber. Would they be able to escape with the mirror, or had the king magic already caught them in a trap?